So that's why you never do cast on map. Glad I was able to avoid that one. Anyway,
Turns out
guys.
4 out of 10 is 40%, Valdez. Yikes. All right. Well, that's why I'm casting and not doing that. INnoVation, our first player that we're going to introduce to you all. Once again, winless in SSL. We'll see if he can change that here tonight.
Poor guy. See if he can get some wins under his belt.
Imagine that, INnoVation.
This
with
winless player.
Man, INnoVation's seen better days.
I mean, I'm also winless. We're basically on the same level then, right, Rapid?
That's true. I mean, not SOS, but INnoVation definitely wins in handsomeness, that's for sure. His play also looking good. And coming into tonight's game, really interested to see. I mean,
are you sure that this player doesn't win in handsomeness?
Okay, all right, never mind. I take it back.
I was going to challenge you, but I wanted to wait until
literal
Zest.
bicep as his logo, the muscle toss.
I was waiting until he got on camera.
The returns.
Zest looks like he's going to the beach. He's not on a team anymore. He seems a lot more relaxed. You know, keep in mind he used to be on KT.
Yeah.
So
KT, pretty much like the buffest team in Korean history.
Yeah,
Losira. Oh my God. Losira's voice sounds buff. So does Zest as well.
Rocking that white tee.
I'm surprised he's not just wearing a sleeveless shirt and flexing in front of the camera. Here we go, guys. Our first game of INnoVation versus Zest starts right now. So get out there, tell your friends SSL's back. We're going to be watching INnoVation versus Zest.
INnoVation 이신형, 제스트 주성우.
Here we are, the battle of the most handsomest StarCraft players to ever make it onto the map. Down here in the bottom right, the blue Terran, it is INnoVation.
And his opponent in the upper left-hand corner, the Protoss player, Zest. I think now we're just doing claps. That seems
well,
to be...
they did the cheers earlier, thankfully. That's like the normal way. As you were mentioning, it's kind of like you do the cheers during the countdown, but they're kind of slow today. And then you clap when they get on, you know, so.
We'll figure it out eventually. It's the first day.
They did it kind of right.
First day of school, this is like our orientation. But the games actually still do matter. And here comes out a very early probe from Zest to find its fortune in the world.
Everything's new and very green. Everybody's a little bit confused, you know. the format's different and all this stuff.
I guess there are patches of green on the map as well. The Jin Air sponsors come to Expo TV and they're like, well, we just like to see only green maps from now on. So every map only has like this bright green Jin Air texture.
I think Frost even has green. Like it's got some trees on it, right? That counts as green. Even if they're like winter trees with no leaves. Does it count as green? Does a tree with no leaves count as green?
I guess not, unless like the wood is green. That'd be pretty weird.
So you're specifically talking about the color green,
I love
not just like whether or not something is like natural.
I love how this probe is blocking a Terran expansion. It's like you could start building that anywhere, and granted that does delay it a little bit more, but I mean pushing the probe out eventually. Base is coming down on both sides, and Reaper out as well, and it does not look like we're going to see Starport Tech or Stargate Tech just yet out of Zest. So.
There's still time.
I mean, there is indeed, although it should be a little bit more of a standard opening here. I mean, standard, you have to imagine that will favor INnoVation. Just, I mean, people call him like a machine. Apparently, he said he didn't really like that name because he feels like it's a little bit emotionless. But I mean,
well, sorry to break it to you.
No, you actually just get named these things. I don't know about you, Valdez. When I was growing up, I didn't get to choose my very embarrassing nicknames.
Yeah, you don't get to choose your nicknames. Like, he's like, no, I don't like it. We're like, well, I'm sorry, but like that's what you are.
Yeah, you don't have to choose the machine life. The machine life chooses you. So, INnoVation now going to be going into what looks like Widowmine drops. Going to be reactoring those out as in the Other corner, Stargate is in fact on the way. Zest proving me
There
wrong.
was still time.
There was still time, Valdez.
Starting it off with that, and the Reaper might be able to get a scout. I actually wasn't paying attention to see if he already did. Might have been denied.
Yeah, was denied there. Going to be pushed out by the first Adept and Mothership Core. Back out on the map. Isn't it remarkable, Valdez, that in the StarCraft universe, not only are units able to breathe in space, they can also breathe underwater as well.
Underwater in space.
Oh my, how do you have underwater in space?
I mean, are we? Yeah, we are underwater here.
Yep. I
Okay.
mean, you'd think if
So I guess this isn't in space, technically, right?
I mean, maybe there's space on top of this. Who knows? Maybe this is on
Does
a
it
planet.
have like an atmosphere with like, you
Well,
know?
you can't actually have water on a planet with no atmosphere. It just doesn't work that way. Like, the water would have to be frozen. But this
Okay.
is obviously not
Okay.
that way.
So,
There's also
There you
apparently
go.
monster truck tires just like hidden in crevasses across the map, so not sure about that. But beautiful nonetheless, although the floating unit gimmick sort of got kind of old for me. It's like, oh, you just blew up 50 Zerglings and they all float upwards. Nice pick off on the Reaper there, denying the scout with the first Oracle. However, Medevac will be able to get these Widow Mines in and burrowed. One shot too few to clear that last mine out of there. Probably just going to sacrifice a probe and move back in, unless he does have magical detection. Wow, actually tanks that with a Mothership Core.
yeah, you can eat that there.
Decides to not sacrifice any little tiny disadvantage. Mothership Core is still alive, and the Widow Mines both going to get dealt with there. Although it will take a very long time to kill it with just the Mothership Core. Out of there. And what's the next transition? We're still having air units being produced. Phoenix on the way. And it looks like not going to be total big bio balls like we saw out of Alive earlier.
Big bio balls. 7. Abyssal Reef. we might. It could happen.
Indeed it is. Instead of Motley Force, just about everything that comes out of the Stargate. You see a Void Ray out. Going to be just picking up little bit by little bit out on the map. So, for both of these players, I think it would behoove INnoVation, like we said earlier, just play that slow, solid macro style. On the other side, Zest. Really, really good at timing, muscling his opponents out of the game in real life and virtually. Still continuing, or not continuing rather, to produce Phoenixes. Just going to sit on the Air Force and try to get something done.
Got to be careful with these air units. Don't want to give any away for free. It's a lot of Marines already. They don't have STEM. But those upgrades will line up all together. We've seen this push before. +1 combat shield STEM. And even some Widow Mines into the mix.
And on the other side, +1 in Glaives just now started, so this is actually really interesting. He's got the Oracle there, so that when he lifts up the units with the Graviton beam, the Oracle then can't hit them. Like, okay, well, that's some anti-synergy, but we'll see if he's able to deal with this big push out across the map there. INnoVation might have just the sickest timing here. +1 is not done. It's done in about 5 seconds. It will be done before the +1 in Glaives of Zest is, so this is a big, powerful timing for INnoVation to hit.
Oh boy, Zest forced to fight here against the Nexus. There's only one pylon to help out, and
Oh, and Stim just now completed as well. This is way too much to deal with. Nice amount of adepts there, but they just don't survive for very much longer.
and they're not fighting all together. All the Phoenixes doing absolutely nothing. I think you're right. This might just be the perfect timing here for INnoVation.
INnoVation, how does he know right on time into this third base? And it is not going to be able to last very much longer. And even though this mine's revealed, they're still going to be very potent. And here comes in the last view of Zest. The Depths, he's got Phoenixes there as well. The probes coming in to fight, but even they will not last very long. GG, INnoVation takes game number 1.
Makes it look easy too. He's like, just gonna go for a basic push, get a couple of upgrades, move across the map. Meanwhile, Zest, he did not have the defense. There were not enough pylons. He didn't have enough adepts. He wasn't able to delay it enough with the overcharges. Those Phoenixes and the Oracle did absolutely nothing in the fight. They were just dead weight, and he couldn't get enough harass damage on the other side of the map. Even if he did get more, would not have changed the outcome of that game. So INnoVation, reading the build, really nice response. We're going to have to see something better out of Zest for game 2.
And Zest, I mean, you could kind of see what he was going for there. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have air control and then have perfect scouting and then, know what's coming my way. But he was just had his upgrades maybe I don't know, 20 seconds off. If he had +1 and glaives there to push that back, then that just doesn't work very well. I mean, when you stim your Marines, you then get two-shot by the +1 glaives, so it's just like, well, you're just going to get massacred. But too fast there. INnoVation right on point with a sick +1 stim timing, taking out Zest in game number 1.
Yeah, it looks very, very solid. We are going to be jumping into Overgrowth for set number 2. So we'll see if INnoVation can continue with his dominance in this series, or will Zest bring it back? Let's find out, jumping into game number 2 right now.
INnoVation 이신형 제스트 주성우.
All right, it seems like the fans have gotten on the same page now. Up at the top right, the blue Terran. It is INnoVation.
Personified. Turns out he's actually just a human being. His opponent on the bottom left-hand corner in the yellow. This is Zest. Next on Arena SSL, Zest fighting in the best cursive handwriting I have ever seen.
Said this is my first time down to the arena. Thanks so much for SSL. I'm fighting.
Thanks so much for Zest as well. What a human being to exist in the world.
A sight for sore eyes, if I say myself.
Well, a sight for literally every eye. Well, every eye that's watching SSL, which is what every eye should be doing. So if you guys know friends that are ruining their lives by not watching SSL tonight.
Other eyes that aren't watching.
That is true. Yeah. If you know of any eyeballs, if your parents are sleeping and you're staying up late to watch SSL, wake them up. Just kidding, don't do that. You don't want to get grounded if you're still in that position. Even if you're like an adult out of the house.
Call your mom, it's 3 a.m. like, Mom, SSL's on. What are you doing?
She's like, secure socket layer, what's that? It is actually a super sick tournament. Glad to have it back. The most annoying probe might actually get an SCV kill, but instead glitches out.
Might get an SSL here.
We have a probe SSL. That's coming up next.
This SSL is for everybody, so that's the probe's SSL too. So he got one.
Hashtag not my SSL. Well, this is actually mine and yours and everybody else's that wants to enjoy it. And we're going to see a very standard start, almost identical to the way that game number 1 opened. Game number 2 might open the same way, but if Zest wants to take this out, he cannot let it continue in that direction. Needs to mix it up a little.
Yeah, we'll see if he goes for any kind of timing here. Overgrowth a bit smaller than Abyssal Reef. And on Abyssal Brief, obviously he went for the faster third base with the air control, trying to get map control with those Phoenixes. INnoVation wasn't having it.
It turns out Phoenixes are just not good against Stim Bio. Not going to cut it. And that one Oracle is just like, all right, guys, let's go. And he dies.
I'll reveal them.
It turns out also Revelation, great spell, but it does no damage. Ooh, the luckiest Reaper.
6 health.
Great control. INnoVation, no Reaper left behind. Gets that one out of there, and it looks like this time around, no air. It's going to be Robo on the way.
Yeah, Robo to start. No Twilight Council. Starting off with this Robo deck. Could just be safe, maybe get some observers out.
And I guess safe is a good way to play against INnoVation. If you are able to get the early scouting information, that can definitely help know what's coming your way and help you maybe plan an aggressive style against it, so you don't have to just plan for literally everything. Instead, adding gateways. Looks like it's just going to be the same Reactor Widow Mine drops. Actually, not reactoring them this time around.
Yeah. I like the fact that we get these camera shots because you can see the player's hands the entire game. That's really cool, actually.
So 2 things that I actually need to see as the evolution of broadcasting StarCraft continues. I mean, this is as close as you can get to actual hand cams. Like you said, I really like that we can see just how fast these guys are spamming. We've got the APM count up at the top of the screen. I really wish we could incorporate first-person views to this, because that would just give you such an insight into what these guys are going through as they play the game. I mean, for us as omniscient observers and even viewers, we can look and see, okay, well, he's microing his Marines, he's stimming backwards. Wow, that looks so cool. But they're literally doing that 100% of the time with very high APMs, macroing, microing. It all takes an incredible amount of action. So cool to see the hands moving at the speed of players.
I remember we used to have first-person views in Pro League just a bit, and they would put them on at the most boring times ever. Like
this guy's literally just
a
building
Protoss.
units.
A Protoss would be macroing in his base. He's just like chrono boosting a building, you know, he'd be spamming a bit, right? And we're like, okay. And then the fight would happen, and they wouldn't put the first-person view onto like a Terran splitting his army, and we just never get to see it. And I'm like, okay, well, not really sure what this is for. So I would like to see first-person view back as well, but hopefully maybe done a little bit better, practiced perhaps. Maybe a separate stream. 2 streams, one for each first-person view, and then we got the main stream. That's the dream.
I was actually just casting Brood War over the course of the last weekend, and they actually do have separate first-person streams for that, so it's really cool to be able to see all of that. Either way, let's actually go ahead and return back to the game. Colossus is the tech path with those extended thermal lances on the way, and a big gateway explosion, so this is the big macro hitting here for Zest. He's still only on 2 bases, so not going for that third like we did see him get punished for in game number 1. And of course, right as I say that,
as
the third
is the way
base
of
comes
things.
down.
As is the way of things.
I'm like Rotterdam's kindred spirit right now. This is the caster curse in full effect.
Yeah. There it is. Just a bit safer, you know, as you were saying. Like,
what can I say that INnoVation is not going to do just in time for him to do it? I mean, he's getting all of his upgrades, stim, combat shields, +1, all on the way, and
he's not going battle cruisers.
Nice try, Adept. I just called you Adept instead of
I don't know why you called me Adept. That was weird. Like, makes no sense at all.
This is like free association. Somehow I think that Brendan just shades everywhere. I look to my left and Brendan's not there, and then
a shade into the bathroom during the cast. You guys won't even notice I'm gone because I'm already shading back while Rapid's talking. So, I mean, what Zest was doing was really just a more careful way. You know, taking his third a little bit later, getting the 6 gateways and the thermal lance first, so that when this push comes across the map, he's like, okay, well, what are you going to do now? You can't kill me.
Yeah, he'll have 2 Colossus with thermal lance out by the time this hits, and that should be more than enough to deal with this. No Vikings, at least from what I can see in this army composition, so those Colossi should be pretty safe. Now, he doesn't have a lot of beef up in the front of his army, just those Stalkers, which do not do well against Marauders and Siege Tanks. Stimming forward, force fields there to push them back.
Look at what he's doing, though. He's forcing siege after siege, and if this Terran army went and attacked right away, and he didn't give him, didn't force him to siege and siege, there would be 1 less Colossus, 1 fewer warp in.
Catching those siege tanks on siege. Zealots going to get right in on top of them. Nice middle mine connections, but the Zealots get evaporated. Stalker's now going to be the next to fall. There's a lot of Colossi in the back, but it just might not be enough.
Zest fighting straight into all those tanks. Unfortunately, he needed a little bit more. That Colossus is going to live.
Oh my god, how many HP does that guy have? Drop there in the main. Going to be pushed out with those overcharges. We'll see if Zest can stabilize. There's 1 Colossus popping out, but it's not going to be alive very much longer if he doesn't control it. Micros it backwards. Whip line is there.
Good position on the Mothership Core to keep it in the base to deal with drops. It wasn't with the main army, so I was hoping he was going to be ready for something like that.
Another drop comes in, unpowering 2 gateways. INnoVation gets in and gets back out, but man, I cannot believe that Colossus survived, possessed, just barely able to stop INnoVation in his tracks.
Well, now he's got his Stalkers over here to deal with this. Actually, not the worst trade in the world for the Terran player. And another push coming in here. But this time 3 Colossi with range and lots of sentries. That's going to be 1 dead tank and another Widow Mine will go down. So Zest holds, and he takes an earlier third base. Seems like it wasn't the most saturated third base. He delays the 5th and 6th gas just to hold on here, and now he will transition. You can see that INnoVation does have the +1, even concussive shells.
Now it is Zest's turn to get his drop game on. We'll see what he decides to go for. Probably just going to be Adepts in here. Haven't seen Dark Shrine, Air, nothing like that as far as tech transitions coming out. Well, now we do have the first few Immortals being added in. This is the dangerous Terran. If you get out there and you aren't able to just really smash the Protoss army, the longer Protoss units stay alive. I mean, I just feel like even that Colossus that almost died but didn't, it's just going to be more and more to deal with as the shields recharge all the way back up. Nice try, Widow Mine.
It's crazy that Zest, you know, in this form even, is smart enough to send out just one Adept to look for small stuff like this. Could have been searching for drops too.
All right, so Templar Archives on the way, and going to be looking probably for storms out of that. Fourth base on the way for Zest, and I think INnoVation might have been thinking about getting that, but instead, he's scouting around and finding the loneliest Warp Prism. Just kidding! Haha! Surprise, Adepts. They're going to be shading here into the third base. INnoVation's army a little bit out of position, but wisely only shading one Adept all the way in.
The fleet of Vikings, too, escorting, or should I say, ushering that Warp Prism out of the base.
Well played, Brendan. Yeah, and that's actually what I commented on earlier. No Vikings in that early push to deal with those Colossus. Now a decent fleet. Wow, yeah, going to be coming out Noah's Ark style 2x2. Pooling them here, looking to crush those Colossi next time around.
And they're going to have to fight to the death if they want to get on Noah's Ark. Only 2 can remain.
What's that like? You get 8 Vikings that want to get on board. They realize, uh-oh, only 2 get on.
Viking fight. Let's see it happen. Although that would have to happen with the Marauders and the Marines too. And there's only so many different units that go into a Terran composition in this matchup.
True. All right, now this time around, a much more diverse force coming out for INnoVation. He went back home, macroed back up, and now it's try number 2. At the same time, though, Zest is diversified as well. He's got a bunch of Immortals there up in the front lines. Those will be able to take out those Marauders in the front as well. But really, how is he going to deal with all of these Vikings? I mean, that is a lot of Terran air.
It might be too much, actually, because I think there's only 3 Colossi on the map. And I mean, you take out the Colossi, maybe you can land the Vikings, but he has much less bio. And if there's enough storms on the ground at the same time, I mean, you can see just how fast these Colossi are going down. High Templar from the right side trying to land those storms. Not the best storms, to be honest. And look at this gigantic drop into the main.
Yeah, 3 full medevacs unloading in Zest's main. A big warp in there of Adepts, but that is a lot of Terran bio on the ground.
And Adepts, they do come in here trying to fight the massive overcharges, but eventually those will run out, and maybe even the bio can snipe some of those pylons down. You can see Zest does back out in the middle of the map, back to his third base, sending a bunch of units now to eventually clean this up. Only Adepts will do the job, but can he hold off this attack?
Zest expanding in the background, but still going in for this fight. Liberators sieging up, and not enough to take them down immediately. They will finally go down, but landing the Vikings. INnoVation crushing through Zest's army.
He's able to do it. The Vikings all landing down, and even though they're not the best against Immortals, if you've got enough, you will be able to eventually win the fight. GG! INnoVation takes another 2-0.
2-0 over Zest. INnoVation, your winner. And coming into the series, maybe the favorite, but always impressive to see INnoVation on point.
Sky looking very, very solid. This is kind of what I was expecting coming into this one. Definitely what a bunch of people were expecting. But Zest not able to throw a wrench into the machine this time.
I mean, he might not have, you know, the Zest biceps going on, but he's flexing the biceps in his individual fingers. Somebody else out there, like the doctors who also like StarCraft, are like, well, no, the finger muscles are actually called this. I'm like, no, he has biceps, 4 fingers. He's flexing them all there against Zest, who's got a lot to think about after getting 2-0'd in his first appearance in the season of SSL.
Seems like he was talking to someone in the booth, perhaps one of his friends. You know, Stats coming up next. Another player that used to be on KT, now on Splice. Probably talking a bit with him, his Protoss buddy.
Well, that is actually a great segue into our next matchup. We'll get a chance to see yet another team kill. It's going to be Splice's Stats versus Solar coming up next. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Solar versus Stats.